thanks for staying with us. So join us to encourage young tech entrepreneurs and investors, and also to galvanize more entries into the tech space, especially with the high rate of unemployment in our economy today. He's a tech entrepreneur himself, an investor, and a key stakeholder in the African technology startup space, Mr. Olumide Soyombo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Good to have you. We love Wednesdays because we celebrate business owners, women, even men who are doing great things, entrepreneurs, and you're in the tech space. Yep. Tell us a bit about your journey. How did you find yourself in tech? Is that something you've been doing as a primary school, secondary school, or it just happened on you at some point in your life?
Okay, anyway, thanks again for having me. Interestingly, I always wanted to be a medical doctor first.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And then it all changed when I came home on holiday, I think in 95 or 96, I was still in secondary school. And I encountered a computer. So my dad had bought a computer and was connected to the internet. Those days, we had to connect our Nitel line to your lap, to the
desktop.
To the desktop, and then it would engage the line throughout. So I was just playing on the internet all throughout that holiday. It was a Windows 95 PC, and you couldn't get me off that computer throughout that whole holiday. And then I started out trying different things on the computer, how to register free email addresses. So I started registering free email addresses, and I would sell those email addresses to people for 150 naira. And I figured, okay, I can make money from. Then I was all of maybe 13 or 14 years old. Wow. And so I encountered the computer, and then that changed the trajectory and left me living my medical dreams to pursue technology.
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think about people investing in the Africa ecosystem, Africa tech system? How do you think we can do more? So I know there are a lot of brains. We have good brains here, but we don't see a lot of investment in that area. We also don't see in our schools a lot of courses that direct us in that area. We just do more certification courses. So how do you think we can have more investment and get, our schools to also see this as the new, they call them jobs of the future?
Correct. I think you've hit on two key things and two key pillars, right? Which is knowledge, innovation, entrepreneurship, and capital, right? Interestingly, the Honorable Minister for Innovation, Communication, and Digital Economy, Dr. Bosun Tijani, just released a strategic blueprint, and these key things are some of the initiatives that we speak to.
Right.
First is knowledge, right? We are going into the knowledge-based economy and digital economy. How do you empower the people? If anything, one thing I'm very, very passionate about, right, is we have a lot of young people, right? And what can we do with this advantage that we have of young people? Because it can be a disadvantage if we don't utilize the young people and talent very well. So how do we scale up people and then place them in positions that they become investable? Coming to the second part of your question, because investors invest in people, and they don't invest in people just because they like you or they like your face. They invest in people because, they want a return. And we are seeing that in our ecosystem. I think last year about $1 billion came into Nigeria, investing in young fintechs, startups in the ecosystem. How do we make that 5 billion next year? Because we have just only scratched the surface. Today, Nigeria, some surveys in Nigeria has about 100,000 developers. India has about 5 million developers. And we have the numbers to go there. So how are we going to scale up people to get them ready for the future? And we have very interesting things going for us. First, English is our first official language for business. We've seen some companies come to set up business process outsourcing centers in Nigeria to take advantage of our talent here. So how do we 10x that amount and make that and scale up more young people, and so that investors then see, because investors would come when they see a return. Right. I was one of the early investors in a company called Paystack. That was exited for $200 million. And immediately we exited that company, everybody said, hey, Olumide, next time you're investing, carry me along. I have my 20K, I have my 50K. People follow success, right? And people follow that return. The typical Nigerian investor is used to other asset classes. But if you get them to see venture and investing in startups as an asset class, and they see a possible route to return, they will come.
Okay. So family and friends are a key source of raising startup capitals.
Sure.
And you raised about $40,000 from your dad.
Yes.
And that company has grown to a multi-million-dollar company now. How did you do it?
Well, I think first is the lesson my dad wanted to first pass, was The part you missed out was that he took 50% of the company.
Oh, really?
Okay, so
wasn't free.
it wasn't free. And we had to buy back those shares later on. So he was just trying to pass a lesson to say, there's no free lunch. Even though I have this money, I'm not just going to give it
That's
to you.
shit too.
And you have to pay it back. And we paid it back eventually. So I think the first thing was I had to have something of note to share, right? I had to be investable. If I was doing something silly, I doubt he would have thrown his money away that way. So he wanted to encourage me because he saw that I was doing something interesting. And that also put a burden on me to say, okay, I've taken money for equity in my business. I have to work harder to pay back this investor and own the company by my partner and I. And that's what we did. So many times we talk about people saying, hey, the first investor you meet are your family and friends. But I take it a step back to say the first investor you need starts from you investing in yourself, right? Investors will only take a risk on you if you have taken a risk on yourself. So the first person to develop it's yourself and make yourself investable. So that's usually the first step I have.
Yeah. So my question is, you seem to just be really good at this. You're succeeding, you're selling off and making lots of money. And
that's the part people see.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. So we have many startups right now, and a few of them I know personally, and they're struggling. They seem like, am I sure I'm even doing the right thing?
Correct.
What would you say to them right now about what they need to keep doing, and then what are the things you would see in a startup and say, okay, you're on the right path, don't give up yet?
I think it's a very interesting question, and I'm not going to sugarcoat or perspire to aspire rubbish, right? There's none of that. It's okay to give up. You can give up. That's what people don't seem to understand. There's a company I invested in, I write about that in my book, a gentleman called Yomi Ojo, who started a company called Printivo, did very well with that, and saw another interesting opportunity to build another company called Kova. Kova was supposed to help people track their digital assets. So today, if something happens to you, who knows where all your bank accounts are? Who knows if you have crypto? Who knows where it is? Your family know where it is. So on paper, it sounded like a very beautiful idea. It raised close to about 700 or 800K. I also invested in that company. And he started, but he wasn't getting the right traction. He tried different things. It wasn't working. And he's tried to pivot, still nothing. I'm like, this idea was good on paper now. And then he said, okay, investors, I raised about 800K. I've left with about 250K. Please come and take your money back, right? Instead of me losing everything and run to zero, come and take your money back. I don't think this thing is going to work. Yeah. And I respect that kind of founder because he could have kept on building and filtering away everything. If I get $20 if I get 20 cents on my dollar, I'm happy that at least I didn't lose everything.
Yes.
Because everything could have gone. So it's okay to still give up.
Okay.
It's okay to also understand to be malleable to change, right? Okay, point A is not working. How do we pivot to something else and try something else? So startups is all about experimenting, right? Because you don't know what would work. When I see business plans from a founder trying to pitch me for investments, and I tell them, please don't bring this business plan or Excel sheet to me, because the greatest work of fiction is in Excel sheets and business plans, because nothing there will work.
Who was that?
It's the truth now. I say, why are we discussing something that we know is not true? Let me discuss your thought process and let me understand you as an entrepreneur. How would you deal with different things? What kind of things have you faced in the past? How were you malleable to change?
Good.
How were you able to do different? Everything in there would not happen. You know when you say all this 10% month-on-month growth, I went to the airport recently of the new terminal. Before I think they just moved everybody now to the new terminal. But before they moved everybody to the new terminal, I understood that there was a challenge with putting certain planes docking in that terminal. But someone had built a restaurant in that terminal, betting on traffic to come through that terminal. And then I'm sure the person had told investors, by the time this terminal is open January 1st, there's 20,000 people traveling per day. If 5% come, you take all these assumptions. I just need only 2% and I'll be fine. The terminal didn't open. Yeah. How do you model that? So most of the things in the plan will not happen. But I need to see the entrepreneur's mindset in being able to change, and able to move on to different things.
Let me ask you about partnership, because you talked a lot about partners, investors.
Yes.
How do you decide who your partner is? What are the things to look at? Because also a lot of young people start businesses, but they want to do it all alone. It's my own, it's my business, And they don't want to partner with anybody. They don't want to tell a friend, I don't want to share my ideas with BC. They want to do it myself. I don't want to collaborate. So how do you determine who to collaborate with and how to partner with others?
I think my lessons on partnership I draw from marriage, actually. My lessons from partnership in business. Because I write actually that co-founding a startup is like getting married. Right? My wife jokes today that my partner, Kazinta Ogbade, is my husband, or my wife. Because many of the lessons that are required, that you see in marriages, you can bring also into how partnerships work. First is, even the good book says that God said it was not good for Adam to live alone and gave him a partner. There are certain things you are not good at. There are certain things that party A is good at. So I believe in strong partnerships because two people can chase more. But then to decide to partner, it needs to be based on certain key things: trust, communication, defining roles and responsibilities, managing outside influence. Because you find out that many people have shares in your business, but they don't have shares in your business. So they have an interest in your business, but they are not on your CAC cap table. But they are the ones telling you that this one you can do it now, or no, now you can go and do it by yourself. It's a lie. When you start believing that you are the all in all and you can do everything yourself, that's really your hubris. So for me, it's choosing the right partner starts from, like I'll use my example. I met my partner on a project. We worked together for 1 year. He was even 8 years older than I am, and I was at the time. And we said, okay, there was an interesting opportunity. We were going to build this business plan, take it to my dad. He would invest in it, and then we would build together. But he had key strengths. He was a super technical guy, first-class graduate from University of Ibadan, had strong experience. I was more the salesperson, and he didn't have that side. I didn't have the core technical skills he had. So we complemented each other. And we worked with each other, and we had seen each other work in different environments. Are you going to bed or go into partnership with someone who's always borrowing money? And then you then find out that when you start the business, he has taken money from the business. What did you think will happen? What did you think will happen before? Right. So there are some key things that you need to understand in partnership before you go in.
Yeah, so I wanted to find out, what are some of those things your parents did that you picked up on that pushed you in this business direction? Because I know that sometimes we put so much attention on read your books, go this one, you are going to get a job when you're done, and we don't teach them the ropes of entrepreneurship. So did they do anything that made you change direction to get into business?
I mean, that's an interesting question. Thinking about it now, right, I see what my parents exposed me to, right? So I think the first thing is exposing children to that environment. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. I'd seen my dad start different businesses. I'd seen his business cards, and I was like, I like this business card. I want to follow it. I think my brother has actually been on this same seat, Olumide Soyombo. He's a pastor, but he's also an entrepreneur. My older brother is also an entrepreneur. So we had seen my dad start several businesses, and we've looked at his nice briefcase. As a young child, you're just impressionable, right? You had seen him make different moves, start different things, and it played a role in how we were going to do it. But there was never for one day my dad said, hey, you must go and start your own business, or this is what you are doing. If you're not doing that, that was fine. But he exposed us to tools. He exposed us to books, a lot of books. One of the early books we read was 7 Habits of Highly Effective Things, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Those Failing Forward, those books shaped your thinking. And those books then have a play in how you view life and how you view different opportunities. So I think that exposure to is what really changed for me.
Fantastic. So I'd like to get your thoughts on Tunde Okoyas' approach to rehabilitating internet fraudsters, aka Yahoo boys, rehabilitating them through tech training. So for context, Tunde Okoya is a social entrepreneur that uses chess to rehabilitate kids from
living
the
under
ghetto.
the bridge,
Absolutely. So while he has gotten a lot of support from some people, like the likes of Inyaboyeji, investing, in such an idea, some people are saying that it is a reward for bad behavior. Why don't you channel this tech training to the people who have been well-behaved over time and train them to gain meaningful employment?
Right.
Why do you want to channel it to Yahoo boys? What's your take on that?
I think is one of, and that's really sometimes the problem I have with Twitter, right, our social media conversations. It then becomes either or, right, instead of and, right? So I'm doing A doesn't mean I can't do B, right? So for me, what Tunde is doing is very, very admirable and very, very interesting. There are so many people today, right, that tech has changed their lives, right? If you read about a gentleman called Adewale Yusuf, right? He had worked as a security guard before, started Tech Point Africa, and today he has built Old School Africa that has raised several millions of dollars, right? I'd gone to a restaurant once in Lagos, and I met this waiter. His name is Daniel, and I liked him, his diction. I was like, what school did you go to? He said he went to a polytechnic, but have you used a laptop or a computer before? He had never done so. Wow. I said, okay, but he said he plays around with the computer in the restaurant. And I said I was going to pay for him to do a one-year course in a company called Semicolon Africa that trains people how to be young programmers. It's 1 year, they give you a laptop, give you a meal a day, and I enrolled Daniel in that course, right? Daniel was probably earning maybe, 40, 50K. I'm not sure how much he was earning at the time. But he's been able to several times 10x his revenue or his income by empowering himself with the right skills. So what Tunde is trying to do is to scale up 10,000 Daniels, right? 50,000 Daniels. It doesn't mean that the Yahoo boys or whatever cannot
Be part of that.
cannot be part of that program. The key thing for me, right, and we'll come back to the same question I even asked Daniel, is commitment, right? Even if I'm ready to train you, if you're not ready to receive the training, then we are wasting our time, right? So it's commitment to a cause. So if I find really committed people, I think those same people should be given opportunities in the right context.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have this question, but I also feel like what you've answered is part of an answer you give me. So just the future of the tech ecosystem in Nigeria. Earlier you compared the Nigerian ecosystem with the Indian one, with the one in India, and obviously it's a huge difference.
Sure.
So for what you see today, what do you think what do you think it will be like in the next 10 years? And what do you think we need to put in place now as a government? As an individual, I've seen what you're able to do, one person, but as a government as well, what can we do to sort of scale it up?
I think looking into the futures, I'm very excited because we have some of the key levers that we can build on. I talked about using the internet when I was 13, and I was one of the lucky people. A bank MD in Nigeria today probably didn't use the internet till maybe they were in their 30s or something like that. But think about children today that are born digital first, right? Think about a child born 20 years ago, right? They were born in the internet. Today, maybe they're getting their first job, right? They now have earning power. They're going to do everything online first, right? They're going to open bank. They're not going to walk into any branch to open a bank account. They're going to do everything first. If you go to any tech startup's office, watch the number of Jumia bikes or food order delivery bikes that is going into those offices. Those guys order first online. Yeah. So they are digital first. Give a 3 or 4-year-old your iPad, they've gone to an app store to buy something.
Yes.
Think about when that child has his own earning power. And we have a lot of young people coming on stream that will be digital first and live in cities. So who is going to build solutions for these people? And how do we invest in those kind of solutions? How do we prepare people for that future? The government obviously has a role to play, and I think we spoke about it earlier around education, not building the knowledge-based economy, and the pillars for innovation, the partnerships between academia and industry, putting in the right policies, right? That is not just thinking of today, right? Thinking about policies that would enable further investment in the ecosystem, and that's really how change
Just
happens.
that I can see it in Lagos. Maybe Abuja.
Yeah, in
I don't really, yes, but I would not say it's widespread across Nigeria.
Yeah, but it's still. I mean, I call it day zero, right? Okay. Sometimes when I want to look at what our ecosystem looks like in 5 to 10 years' time, I look at what India looks like today.
Okay.
They didn't start like this, but there was intentional action and the right policies to drive investment, to catalyze investments in that place, to invest in education and investing in the right policies. Not today one policy A and we've shifted to policy
Tell us about
B and consistency. Tell
us about your book. You've been talking about your book. What is it about and why did you need to get that book?
So I wrote, the name of the book is Vantage, My Life, Starting Out and Startups. So basically I cover my growing up in an entrepreneurial home, the vantage point I had in having a dad who could invest in my business, but then how to pay that forward, how I started out Blue Chip, and then the lessons learned in running my own company, and then the lessons learned in now investing in other startups. I think what we don't do very well in this part is telling our own stories, right? How did you do it? Now, God, right? So we need to codify some of those lessons, and that's what I attempted to do, to say, I'm not going to write a prescriptive book. I remember when we were thinking about ideas for the book, and we went to a retreat, and one of our Gen Z guys in the retreat said, "Sir, we shouldn't call it this name. We should call it How I Invested in a Company and We Sold It for $200 million, My Journey of Paystack, How to Build Your Own Paystack." Right? That is the name of the book that people would want to sell. But I'm like, that is not the right story to tell. Because it worked for A, it not means that it's going to work for B. So I share my story, and in that way, people can draw lessons from that story. And obviously, I try and encourage more entrepreneurs to share their journey.
Let's give us a sneak peek into your childhood. Did you always like school? Were you rough? What sort of challenges did your parents have raising you? Yes.
I mean, I captured some of those. I mean, I was in primary school. I used to be, and this is verifiable. I was usually the first, right? Okay. Secondary school, early secondary school, doing very well. Then, obviously, as you start growing into puberty and so on, and it's saying you start trancy and playing. So obviously, I was a truant in that instance.
How did you come out of it?
I want to quickly jump in there, and I want you to please address that opinion of some people have the opinion that some tech founders just waste investors' monies on marketing and living a particular lifestyle, and it keeps happening. We see the likes of Payday, we see Patricia having issues right now. So why do these issues still come up?
I think it's, and I capture it also in a way. I've invested in a company before, and the founder took our money and went to Ghana. We heard the founder was in Kempinski, chilling for 3 months based on market research. That he was doing market research. So there will always be bad actors, and the bad actors are not peculiar to Nigeria, right? People have different reasons and different motivations. You can't rule that out. However, what we can do is to put some safeguards around, as investors, around, because we've seen investors invest in bad faith actors just because of fear of missing out on a deal. If investors are ready to put some safeguards around, okay, how are we auditing your accounts? What are these reports you are sharing, and so on. Those things help in putting things up.
Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem.
That's your book, and it was good to hear from you,
Thank you.
You're just doing great things. Well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, guys.
That's all we can take on today's show. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.